My name is Catherine Waters. Catherine Waters. Honestly, I don't know. Sometime in the 80s. I I liked their meetings, their conferences, their annual conferences. They were very different than they are now, and I enjoyed them, and that's why I joined. They were held in obscure locations. Um, they were a lot of fun. Firehouses. I remember one that was held in a fire department recreation room in Kern, California. Small towns where the birding was good and the group was very small. If there were over 80 people or 100 people, it was a big deal. Long time ago. A lot. I've held a lot of roles. Just as a board member, conference organizer uh, for a number of years, uh, publications, the WFO's big publication of Rare Birds of California. I took over handling that when I stepped onto the board. It was kind of a baptism by fire thing. Uh, Anything anybody asked to do, I was not good at organizing out of the country field trips. I was good at putting them together and finding somebody else to organize the trip, you know, that kind of thing. But all of the rest of the jobs that come along with an active working board like WFO has, I did them. Yes. Well, um, I was elected president at a meeting in Denver that was, by the way, which was held in a church basement, um, and it was an evolution. It was where I was supposed to go next, and so I put myself up, and it was also a competitive election, which was one of WFO's first, where they had where more than one person was willing to step up and take the position. But well, Narga and I have kind of been, I came behind her. She was there in the beginning, and I came behind her in what I would call right now the middle. And there's nothing that I see that's outstanding, other than the fact that we put our entire we began moving our publications forward. We began moving our the books that we hoped to publish, or the books that people had written that they hoped to publish, and we began moving slowly, but we began moving that forward during my presidency. Um, I I missed my I missed the opportunity to meet people in other states, and so I drug WFO to some very different places outside of the state of California. And with me came Debbie and Elizabeth. They were both recruited by me for different reasons, or recruited by WFO, not specifically by me. It was with agreement. And I like the fact that even though the meetings were small, we went to Boise, Idaho. We went to Las Vegas, which was controversial. We went to New Mexico. Dave Creeper we were just changing hands between Dave Creeper and myself. And I liked that part of it. But WFO was changing by then. Our meetings had always been break even. If we broke even, it was fantastic. If we made money, it was huge in those days. But I just enjoyed it. Meeting people and bringing it in. I made a special project of writing to older members. I sat down. I probably wrote someplace in the 300 letters a year to people who still paid their WFO dues, old timers, and tried to keep them involved. And it worked. They did become more involved. So these are the things that were just of interest to me. You're welcome. Pardon me, I didn't understand the question. Well, I think what's most unique about Western field ornithologists is the open-mindedness of the professional science-based field ornithologists and where they cross with the serious amateur. And I don't really want to call that amateur. The people who basically, these are practiced birders and people who are involved in being out in the field. But Western field ornithologist is a juxtaposition between these two groups, and it works. You are just as likely to get your paper published if it's meets the right standards in Western birds. If you are out there in the field just volunteering to nail up bluebird houses versus someone who has been hired by the Forest Service or the Geological Survey to go out and do a project, and you have that same chance. You have the opportunity to publish. You have the opportunity to serve on the board. You have the opportunity to become president of the organization, and you have the opportunity to meet people who do those things too. So it's a to me that's what is most unique and most important. You're not going to find me becoming president of the AOS or somebody like me. What makes what about the publications? Books that we made up our mind. They may not be the most popular. You're not going to see them on the New York Times top 10 books of the year. However, it is the opportunity that WFO has to get that information in a published format out to the public and where it's available. Uh, Frequently, these books were going unpublished. There was it wasn't that there wasn't an audience for them. There was no organization that was willing to risk the money and the personnel and the time that it takes, because it's a volunteer effort to get these books published. And you may not get really excited about reading uh, uh, something that it's not you. I'm talking to the general public. You that might seem not terribly exciting. However, to the people who are getting these books published and the people who are writing them, it's very exciting. It's valid science, and it's an opportunity to become part of a larger scientific document that we have within the United States and within our territory, which also takes in Mexico, Hawaii, the Pacific, the Northwest. Is that what? I mean, you want me to talk about mine and Elizabeth's wild gin party in Palm Springs, or I don't think so. That was not a popular. Uh, I remember Ken Abel sitting there on the couch in a state of shock, and but you know, there's everything was interesting, and some things were really funny, or and some things were just truly touching, nice. I love seeing the people who would show up for these meetings. They traveled, they traveled a long way to get there. Um, but as anything that's it was all a favorite for me. Everything was a favorite. I enjoyed every bit of it. Well, I think that for all young people, boys and girls, young women and men, uh, just get involved. Get involved. Volunteer. Step forward. It's you're going to meet wonderful people if you do that. You're going to meet interesting people, and these people, maybe they're not going to help your career, but they're going to remember you, to know you, to be able to refer you, to recommend you. But if you don't step forward, if you don't take that first step and step forward, you're you're not it's not it will possibly happen, but it'll happen a lot sooner and a lot more quickly if that's what you're looking for, to be noted in your field, to be recognized for your abilities. It's that business about stepping forward. Someone like Noah Stryker is a really good example of. I met Noah when he was a teenager, and he was editing Birds of Oregon at that point in time. I believe that Noah was 14 or 15 then. He just stepped forward. Another really wonderful example is the the young person right now who has just taken over for the youth program for WFO. She she started as a 12-year-old. She stepped forward then too, even as a child. And so I think it's very important, but even for older people too. If you want to, if you're changing, if you're moving around in life, and you like WFO, the best thing to do is step forward. Say, I'll do that. Raise your hand. Well, I still volunteer for WFO in a very different level. I'm the book review editor for Western Birds, and Phil, he lets me. Once Virginia died, um, I kind of stepped into a small part of what she did. She was an amazing human being, and she, out of everybody, had been with WFO for a really long time. And I stepped in and started taking over a tiny part of what Virginia did for Phil when it came to pre-publication. Um, I love it. It's It was something that I was not trained to do. It just happened, and I was able to take over that little spot, and I learned. I learned something new at my age. I loved that part of it very much. The other thing that I loved about Western field ornithologists is that I didn't set out to know how to publish a book. And like I said, it was baptism by fire, and boy, did I learn uh, how to distribute them, how to track them, how to uh, all of these things. It was the mechanics. It wasn't getting. I wasn't an editor in terms of getting anything into print. I was there literally as the mechanics of putting it into print, finding the publishers, and making sure that the Library of Congress and DOI numbers and all of these other odd things. And I loved it. Someone else, Bob Gill is doing that right now, but it opens up a new vista for people, and it definitely did for me. But the organization is the the membership is stable. It goes up and down a little bit. Keeping in contact. I don't know. I've just loved it all. Writing to nice people that have been members for years. All of it was a unique and very nice experience. Uh, Pardon me? The future of WFO, how I would like to see it, not go to San Diego again. We've been there. There's a whole world out there, and some of it is very difficult to travel to. Even here in the United States, it's not easy to get to northwestern Nebraska, where the birding is beautiful and the east meets the west. But I would like to see uh, an opportunity to go to more obscure locations. But the organization is now based differently in terms of finances than it was many years ago. Uh, as for the future, I love picking up my copy of Western Birds. I love looking at the amazing photography. We have an incredibly talented photographic editor for Western Birds. He's wonderful, Peter. And going forward, young people are going to have to, we've got to have that talent. They've got to be involved with us, and we have to be involved with them for the organization to go forward. I'll always be a member since I'm a life member anyway. But where the organization will go in terms of, I hope, in terms of publications, that it will be able to expand. We're on a much better footing than we were 30 years ago. And in terms of being able to financially be able to afford that, we have the backing of people. But our membership has gotten older, and uh, um, I think that the board right now and the new people that they brought in, I know very few of them, but obviously they're looking out there at a broader point of view, and I think that that's where they need to go. They've recognized this, and they have different associations, uh, and they're going to do it. I can see it right now. It's really interesting. I see it in the papers that come into Western Birds. When Phil sends me the final before it goes to press, and I look at it, and I'm really excited to see new names, new people that are submitting research. I think it's very important that we continue those contacts. Um, Phil's pretty amazing. But the thing of it is that all of that comes from being visible and Western field ornithologist has become more visible. And I think that the visibility will continue. I hope it does. And the future of the organization probably will depend on it. Does that help you?